go away, so the municipal built people must, I mean. And I wonder if they're like down in Hanover where the bonfire disappears overnight.
That
They
was
suck up
astonishing.
all.
What bonfire, yeah.
Yeah, right. No, no bonfire here. No, no.
Neat. Well, Jimmy and Kathy are over there.
Right now? Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, they've been there for 3 weeks, almost a month now, I think.
Wow,
We were FaceTiming in the beginning.
wow,
First there, but
Wow.
they're on the road.
wow.
That's it. They're done. They're on their freedom.
You may not be, are you gonna have
Yeah,
some
I
I
slides?
have
I have-
Ken has something
Yeah,
on the
sit right
screen
here.
if you wanna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you may not.
All right, I'll do
be
it.
Yeah,
terrific.
sit right here. You can sit right here.
Yeah,
Your usual.
Andrew doesn't have pretty. so-
Yeah, here's the usual. The stairs at your name.
Well, I
at the
think-
bottom.
Do we have any Zoom participants?
No, we don't.
I didn't see an announcement on the listserv, did you? Put one out?
I put out stuff on the website, and I don't think I did.
It's
get
on the
it.
website, but it wasn't.
I talked it up around, election when I ran into people,
I did talk to several people who were
so.
I tried
aware of
to
it,
get two
so.
people. I tried to get John Stallard.
Community engagement is one of the
Yeah,
aims.
Well, the one person I was talking to said she just wanted to do Zoom.
Could you put it out now?
It's not
Covered?
moved to do it right now.
Yeah, you and I have to continue.
People are on email after dinner.
It is what it is, right?
Really, but-
Certainly.
Yeah, there's nothing on TV right tonight. It's Thursday night football, sorry. Yeah.
That's only on Amazon Prime.
Oh, really?
If you wanna watch, I have it.
No, that's okay. I'm not really a football.
well, let's go ahead and start the meeting. Andrew, we haven't met. I'm Richard Mengy, the chair. But we are very glad that you were able to come and chat with us about housing and what the Twin Pines is doing for housing in the Upper Valley and helping meet some of the need of housing.
Came back early from his honeymoon just to be here.
Yeah, what time zone are you in right
Yeah.
now?
I'm fine. It's been a week. I'm good to go.
So for folks who, we may have one or two folks on Zoom and maybe some others will come
Lenore's
in
just-
a little later. We have Andrew Winter with Twin Pines Housing Trust, who's going to talk to us a little bit about I think the need, barriers, some economic factors, and perhaps characteristics of affordable housing. And maybe what makes it a little bit different from other conventional housing. And so thank you for coming, and without further ado, we'll let you go ahead and
Okay,
speak with us. I think you have a presentation.
I do. I thought it would be a good idea just to do the presentation, kind of give you some visuals, some pictures. We can kind of run through it at any speed. Feel free to just blurt out, raise your hand. Wiggle your ear if you want me to stop and explain anything. And obviously there'll be time, plenty of time to go through questions. So there's 17 slides total. If you wanna
I'm just trying to get it to,
fill the screen, there we go.
there we go.
So this is, I'll just mention that this is 17 units of townhome project that we finished a couple years ago on Sykes Mountain Avenue in Hartford. This is a mixture of 1s, 2s, and 3s. As we kind of go through this, you're going to see a variety of different styles and types of housing. Often with affordable housing, we like to sometimes do flat roofs. Why? Because we like to have solar on it. And sometimes it's easier to do solar on the buildings, and we'll kind of touch on that as we go through the deck. But this gives you kind of one visual of what a project might look like. And again, this is sort of 1 and 2 floor units. There's some 2 bedrooms. Somebody comes in on the first floor and goes up to bedrooms on the second floor. So that's right there on Sykes Mountain Avenue, not far from where all the dealerships have gone. So just a little bit about us. We've been around, we're coming up on our 35th next year. We have, at this point, 665 rental units. And that really sort of ranges from everything from what we call workforce housing, which we'll talk about, to family, sort of non-age restricted housing, general occupancy housing, to seniors. And then we also have projects for the homeless and the veterans, and we'll touch on some of those in the mix. These are projects that we've done, and again, kind of picking up on that flat roof theme. Summer Park, Vicki knows because she was still working for the town of Hanover when we were going through the permitting and construction process there. This is when the first phase of Summer Park was going on. So this is right across from the high school. And this is a project where, thanks to support from the town of Hanover, we were able to acquire an existing 24 units of senior housing, redevelop it, and actually, by building a new building in 2 pieces, and actually increase the number of units from 24 to 42. And so 42 units of senior housing. And some of those units are subsidized, meaning the rent amounts are set. Residents pay 30% of their income, and then the difference between that rent amount and what the resident can afford at 30% of their income is picked up by the federal government. Sometimes people use the shorthand of Section 8. There are a variety of programs. We have a whole host of programs at the federal level that kind of do the same thing, but we generally refer to all of that collectively as subsidized housing. Tracy Street, I'll just mention up there. We have tried to be very, very energy efficient, and we're doing it in different ways. So Summer Park and Tracy Street are both what we call passive house projects. So these are projects where we build super energy efficient buildings. They're certified by the Passive House Institute of the United States, which means they typically are going to use 75, 85% less energy than the typical code compliant building, because we're doing super thick walls. We're getting R60, on the roof, R40 walls, R20 at the foundation. We're spending a lot of time air sealing, so you're not getting air infiltration. We typically are doing triple glazed windows. Residents at Summer Park, is interesting enough, were really worried. They were like, "Oh, we're going to be moving closer to the noise of Lebanon Street, right across from the high school." And in fact, now that they're all there, they're like, and we don't hear anything, because you've got triple glazed windows, really thick walls, and very little bit of acoustical.
Do you use heat pumps?
Yeah, so most of the technology, so Summer Park, Passive House doesn't require that we use only electric or heat pumps for heating, but we do use them for heating and cooling in both these projects. Tracy Street is actually an even fancier attempt to try to get to net zero. So by net zero, we mean that's the solar panels that you see on that building, which are up at the parapet. You see those there. There's the roof covers them. There's some on the facade of the building, and there's a solar arbor in front of the building. If you kind of look back, in the back towards the back end of the building, there's an arbor there as well. There are 330 solar panels, and in all, and that doesn't quite. This was a first attempt. Nobody else had done this in northern New England. Certainly not on this scale. And so we didn't quite get there, in part because, everybody makes assumptions around energy use, consumption, how people are going to use the space, the temperatures we can kind of control somewhat. But there's stuff that people do that may generate more demand on the system than what we projected. So, but kind of fun to talk about a bunch of different concepts that we're trying to get there. Yes.
Why are the solar panels flat?
So the ones on the roof are not. The ones on the parapet, the top wall there, they actually, believe it or not, they are slightly tilted in part because this is not something that you see a lot around in this part of the world, because generally you're trying, we may very well put solar in a community solar array, we may put it someplace else, we may ground mount it. But here we were trying to put it on the building, because we didn't really have a lot of room elsewhere on the site. And, by doing it there, we tilted it in. And so that way, if there's snow or anything like that, it can roll off to the inside rather than down, somebody down below.
Right, no, I just thought they were supposed to face south. instead of
Yeah, so this building, so one of the things we really liked about this building, so this is a photo in the afternoon. So you're getting the west sun on that west facing facade, but this is actually, this building is perfectly oriented for solar. Because it runs, the long side runs south facing. So,
But the ones that we can't see are tipped up.
yeah, they're tipped up. And then on the facade, you can get bifacial, essentially, I'm not using the right term, but you're nodding as if.
Yeah, two-sided.
Yeah, so they are two-sided solar. So even though they're mounted on the face and the sun is shining on them this way, there is any reflection on the
Huh.
back is going to kind of, you will get some solar gain from the back as well. But again, trying this technology in northern New England was kind of a test, if you will. And things, hopefully a lesson, for an inspiration for others to kind of try to do this. I think there's actually a similar project and elsewhere in New Hampshire going on right now to do this. So I'm gonna keep going.
Cool.
Huge need. There's something called Keys to the Valley, which the regional planning commissions did in this area of New Hampshire and Vermont. And they identified the need for 10,000 housing units by 2030. I don't think I need to tell everybody, really low vacancy rates, high prices. Gross rents doubled, wages, had remained flat until recently. And, even then, inflation has been a factor in making people feel like, wow, housing is really expensive. And then, we've got the challenge in certain communities in our region with very high percent of second and seasonal homes. So, Woodstock, I always like to pick on Woodstock, 60%, nearly 60% of the homes are second and seasonal. Which really means that if you're an employee looking for a place to live near work, you're not going to find it. If you're an employer looking to bring people in, not going to find it, not going to find something that is going to really be able to, work for people coming in, particularly in the service sector. So other examples on what things can kind of look like, Hollow Drive in Wilder, that's 18 units. That project's a little bit, about 22 years old. And then Safford Commons is in Woodstock. That project is sort of an effort to try to integrate it into the larger community. This is a site in West Woodstock. It was the subject of years of litigation. We did 28 rental units there. We now have actually 4 home ownership units. You'll see we're going to add some home ownership units there. It looks great. Everybody says, can build me this. And I say, super expensive, and both expensive to build and expensive to operate. So that's one of the challenges with doing affordable housing these days. So we've been kicking around a bunch of terms. We talk about housing as being affordable when the common metric is people should be paying less than 30% of a family's income towards housing. A lot of people are paying 35, 40, 45, 50%. But that has historically been used as kind of the target. Eligibility for housing, affordable housing, is based on household size and income. We'll actually look at some numbers to kind of see how the numbers differentiate between Grafton County, Windsor County across the river, Merrimack County. We're doing a project in Merrimack as well. And it really does vary from county to county, but it always varies within a county based on household size. Part of the numbers that we talk about are area median income. So half earn more, half earn less. That is the median, not the average, the median. Subsidized, we talked a little bit about 30% of the income. We used shorthand for Section 8, but again, there are a variety of different programs. U.S. Department of Agriculture has a program. rental subsidy program that we use. There are senior housing projects that use 202 program that doesn't exist anymore except for in very, very limited numbers. And so on. So there's a variety of different subsidized housing programs, but again, they're always typically focused on residents paying 30% of their income. Recently, the feds have kind of raised, over the last few years, they have raised the minimum. So there were people who literally their incomes were so low, they were paying nothing. And now the federal government requires that everybody pay at least something. So even if somebody has very, very low, extremely low income, $15,000 a year, they're still going to be paying $50 a month. Now, if you're living on $15,000 a year, $50 a month probably feels like a lot, but those are the rules that we work with. Workforce housing, the term gets thrown around different ways. Typically, nationally, it's up to 120% of the area median income, and we'll look at what that actually plays out as we kind of go through. But all of these projects, as affordable housing, the rents are typically at or below 60% of the area median income. So people's, we set the price that we charge based on what somebody at 60% of the area median income can afford, paying 30% of their income. Lots of numbers thrown around there, I realize. So just thought it'd be helpful to kind of see some new properties. Some of you may have heard of some of these projects. Some of them were definitely spent some time in the newspaper. 747 Hartford Avenue. This is a project that we did in the Upper Valley Haven. This is when we were doing our, ribbon cutting. And in early September, people have moved in October, and we expect to be fully occupied by the end of November. And so this is a unique project in that it is serving chronically homeless individuals. That is a defined term under federal law. And so those are the folks who are low income, who have had repeated bouts of homelessness or have been homeless for more than 12 months, plus have a disability of some kind. And with this project, part of the reason we put it next to the Haven, or it is literally on the Havens campus, is because people are going to be coming directly from the Havens adult shelter. They have a priority for this housing. And everybody who gets there has access to a full range of services provided by the Upper Valley Haven. So we're really excited about that. This builds on a similar project that we did in Lebanon a few years ago.
Is there a residency or how long a term do folks stay in that?
Yeah, so great question. On that one, people are actually there. It is not transitional. It is considered what we call permanent supportive housing. And so supportive in the sense that we're providing services, in this case through the Upper Valley Haven. And but it is permanent housing. So people can be there, they move in, they can be there 6 months, they can be there 60 years, probably won't be there 60 years, but our experience has been that, for some people, it is a stepping stone to maybe other properties elsewhere in our portfolio, larger units. The units are smaller. They're about 495 square feet. Those are 1-bedroom units. And the typical apartment that you might go out and rent, 1-bedroom apartment in a modern building might be 650 square feet by comparison. So it works really well for a single person, and particularly if you're a single person who's maybe coming out of the woods, as some of the folks that we're housing are doing. And so for them, getting housing stability, building success, living in congregate housing like this, multifamily housing like this, they will move on to other properties in our portfolio. So this is another project, right? This one's right on the river, right on the Connecticut River, where Route 4 crosses from Old West Lebanon to White River. And Listen Community Center has their building on the left side. And then on the right, DEW, construction, had been working, redeveloping it. They built a state office building back there. And there's, the visiting nurses for the Upper Valley are back there. And so this site was the last piece of it. And this building, houses 42 units. A little bit different here is that this was done as a turnkey, meaning DEW and their partner Braverman, built the building. And we bought it when it was, call it 97% complete. So we had put together all the financing. We worked with them on the front end to design the building, but they built it. And then once it was complete, we bought it, once complete. So mix of studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s, fully leased at this point. We've got some units, 4 units, where the Upper Valley Haven provides services, and 4 units where we actually have clients in the VA living there. And we try to do some veterans housing. We haven't done a standalone veterans housing project. We tend to do projects working with vets where you get 4 vets here, 4 vets there, smaller numbers. But we have the next project.
Well, can I just ask about
yeah.
this one?
Yeah. Sure.
So do you like this model better where it's, built for you rather than having to do the construction management?
Yeah, interestingly, it felt sort of like we were doing almost the same amount of construction
Okay.
management.
Yeah,
And, but with a little bit less control,
Yeah.
in some cases,
Huh.
because it's already designed. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, well, this is what you agreed to,
Yeah,
this is
right.
the design,
Yeah,
and this,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and all the features and amenities,
Yeah.
yeah. And so if you're trying to change things, add
Yeah.
things, it often feels
More
like it's a
cumbersome.
little more
Yeah.
cumbersome, but one of the challenges with affordable housing is cost. And this is actually, I'm going from sort of the most expensive, which was the first one on a per unit basis. This is sort of the middle priced one, and then the least expensive is the next one, because we're always trying to figure out ways to do housing.
Did they meet your energy standards?
Yeah, so in Vermont, so that we didn't use passive house here, we used something called the Efficiency Vermont High Performance Home. And so that's a pretty rigorous standard as well. It's not as rigorous as passive house, but it is the standard to which most of the affordable housing buildings are getting built in Vermont.
Who typically, who do you get to build?
Yeah, so the first, 747 was Ingram Construction, which is a company that we have used out that did Summer Park. They did a project for the Lebanon Housing Authority called Heater Road, which is right by the Heater Road DH Clinic facility. And so this one was DEW, big construction firm. And then the next one was actually Estes in Gallup. So,
And this one in
Yeah.
White River, did that have solar? Was that?
yeah, so that one has solar as
On the
well,
roof.
but not as much. It's just like as the other one that we did. So not Tracy Street's next level, trying to do 330. And so that'll have like, maybe we spent $140,000 on solar. So, it's there, it will generate, I'll be interested to see, it's just started up in October. So we'll see how much of a difference it makes over the coming year.
Because I would think that these taller buildings have pretty good solar exposure. You're not subject to trees and
Not subject to
Other
trees,
buildings and shading it
flat
out.
roof, they're easy, you run the conduit. You'll see, I'll show a couple of other properties, projects that we're trying to do where we do it. Not everything works. This is a perfect example. So this is sort of a construction photo. It's finished now, but Mountain Vale, this is where we took the former Fairfield Inn right at the junction of 89 and 91. The company that owns it, the guy who owned it, he and his family own a number of these hotels. They own the Hampton Inn next door, and he was like, get me out of Vermont. He was feeling like he has a bunch of properties in Florida, and he was feeling like, now's a good time for me to sell some of these hotels. Coming out of COVID, less demand, fewer business travelers. And so and there were a lot of hotels right at that intersection, and so right at that junction, and so he came to us and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Okay, this is actually a pretty good building because it's only 20 years old." And kind of, it's the same sort of typical rectangular box that double loaded corridor, rooms on each side, central corridor, makes it for a pretty efficient building when you're trying to save costs. So this converting this, buying it and then converting it, we probably saved a third per unit over what, the other projects were costing us, a third to 40%, 50%. So this was a much more, cost-effective way to add units. Not everybody's gonna want this, but it's full. And it ended up filling up. I was a little nervous at one point, but it ended up filling up pretty quickly. Interesting enough, studio units, not always popular. And so we're always talking about, like, do we add studios in the next project? Because they're just a little harder, which so anyway, but this has, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I know it's hard to answer, but what's your average cost for an average unit? I mean,
Yeah.
I know it varies a lot, but like a 1 bedroom.
Yeah, so it's a little, so it's the number, I'm gonna give you a number and it's gonna blow your mind, and then I'm gonna have to explain why that number is so high. And
This is for a brand new building.
for a brand new building, if you can build a unit for $400,000 per unit, that's a pretty good number.
For single or 1 bedroom.
For one or two, and again, I'm not really differentiating between 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom.
Yeah.
The 1 bedroom is gonna cost you less. Because your square footage is less, but.
So that might be around 700 square feet or 600 square.
Yeah, so the 1 bedrooms typically we're doing between 600 and 650 square feet. A two bedroom might be 725 to 750. 3 bedroom, you're looking at 9 1/4, somewhere in there. Typically, when you get to a 3 bedroom, you're gonna have, either a bath and a half, a bath 3/4, something, you're gonna try to add another bathroom in there. So that kind of raises your cost, but so having said that, we sometimes, people will say, "Oh, well, I bought my house in 1970 and it was $16,000, and I don't understand why everything's $400,000." But if you are trying to build a house today, you are probably looking at construction costs of, $350, $450 a square foot.
At least.
And we're still doing it at less than that. But what we're also doing, in addition to building the building, is we front load we put in place a 6-month operating reserve. So in addition to sort of, all of the other bank accounts we have, we will have 6 months worth of monies sitting there. So if you say, okay, this property is going to cost me, $500,000 a year to operate, expense wise, we'll have $250,000 sitting in a reserve account. And we're doing a replacement reserve, which is often capitalized, so that if a boiler goes or something goes in winter, whatever, we're going to be able to have the funds immediately available to take care of it. So we're kind of front loading a lot of those expenses into the budget, which makes it somewhat deceptive to kind of compare it apples to oranges. It's really not apples to apples. Most market rate property owners, they're not capitalizing all of those dollars. They're not putting them in a bank account. And they may be pulling money from another property, they may refinance. Once we've put our financing in place, it is locked in for 15 years. We cannot touch it. So it means that you kind of got to think about anything that may come up in the next 15 years on the front end, which does have cost implications.
Right.
So just for clarity, when you say you're thinking about 400,000 for a unit,
that's capitalizing all of those upfront expenses.
Correct.
So that,
Our developer fees in there, so, you know, it's developers fees, it's all the engineering, it's all of the architectural, it's all of the actual physical construction.
sure,
And it's all those reserve accounts. And we'll talk a little bit more about the financing, but we're putting all of that in there. And because generally, you know, if you're charging an affordable rent, $850, $950, $1050, $1150 a month, depending on whether you're including heat, water. There's not a lot of cash being generated there. And because we're having to keep it affordable, we don't have the ability to go, okay, this year, you know, we're gonna raise our price 5%, 10%. And so we're kind of locked in at a relatively lower rate of return for the work that we do on the front end, which means that that developer fee we get paid when we're doing these projects becomes even more important. So,
Sure. Right.
So we're kind of capitalizing that on the front end too.
Are these
So how does
properties tax favored?
So they are tax advantaged in the sense that both New Hampshire and Vermont have statutes that tax projects like these, which are financed through something we're going to talk about called the low income housing tax credit. So they do pay taxes. You know, I'm happy to say, I think this year our property tax bill was, I don't know, $750,000, somewhere around there. So it's, you know, it is, people hear nonprofit, and you think we're not paying taxes. No, we're paying taxes. We're a big taxpayer. In there.
But, you know, how does that, I'm just trying to figure this out. Let's say an 18-unit building and it costs you, let's say, $3 million to build it or whatever. So then you're renting it, say, $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
So you're getting what, $200,000 a year?
correct.
So how does that work for 3 million? I mean, you don't get your money back, right?
Yeah, we're gonna.
It'd take you 75 years to get the money.
Yeah, so we have a different financing mechanism here, and I'm just gonna show you a couple more pictures just to kind of talk about some of the stuff that you may or may not have heard. This is Mellish Wood. This is a senior housing project in Woodstock, right on Main Street or Pleasant Street as you go into town. So if you know where Shire's Motel is, on the right as you go on Route 4, across from what used to be Max Market and is now Woodstock Central Market. This is right next door. So it was developed back in the 1970s. And we bought it in 2022. And we are renovating the two historic buildings in the front. There are two buildings that were built by Trumbull Nelson in the back in the 1970s. And we're taking both of those down, one immediately and the other later on, after this building is built. Part of what we're trying to do is figure out, as we had to do in Hanover, how to renovate a property and keep people housed, and how to add new housing while keeping people housed. The market's so tight, and we're really mindful. We have to be mindful of displacing people during that renovation process. So in you know, as Vicky knows, in Hanover, we had 3 buildings from the 1970s. We built a new building. We relocated everybody from the 3 1970s era buildings into the new building, and then demolished those 3 buildings, which allowed us to build out the parking and stormwater detention, and then add another wing of the building to add 18 more units. So, you know, again, we're kind of doing almost the same thing here, trying to minimize displacement. We'll, you know, at this point, I think probably end up having to move 2 to 3 people off site, and that's it. Build the new building and then move everybody back, and everybody from the existing buildings into the new building while we demolish the 1970s era buildings and rehab the 2 historic.
Yeah, that was like the main concern for the residents in Hanover when they, you know, just at the conceptual phase about what the building was even gonna look like. Is like, I don't wanna move more than once.
Yeah, and that was like, I went in and said, we're gonna figure out how to do this
Yep.
once.
But
Like-
there was a lot of hand holding that Twin Pines did, meeting with the residents like almost monthly, just to let them know what was going on and hear this again and again and again. So
Yeah.
I think all in all, everyone's pretty happy
I think so.
in Hanover.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the biggest problem I have right now is washers and dryers, but that's a story for another day.
Can I ask you about the solar, because I know in Hanover that
Yeah,
was
and
an
actually, if we go
add-on.
back to the last picture, so this is interestingly enough, so, sorry to interrupt.
No,
This,
go ahead.
this has sort of a, it may not look that, the angle's a little deceptive, but it's a mansard style roof. So it's actually got a little less pitch than I think maybe represented here, or the way it's reading here.
Mansard is like barn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we were able to do the roof line pretty flat, so we're gonna be able to do solar up there,
Hmm.
which is, and it's a big, really nice
Why, I
addition.
mean, everybody at residential was mounting solar panels on sloped roofs. I'm not understanding the flat roof issue.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it, and we have it in some places, it's just, you know, do you have the right orientation? Do you
Right.
have enough? Can you put it on? So for instance, if you thought back to that 747 picture, the one with the chairs in front, the building runs, north-south, so the primary faces, the primary roof line is east and west, trees on the east. And so like, I went and said, you know, what do you think? And they're like, dude, you know, you're better off saving your money and, you know, investing in a solar project someplace else, because the amount of space by the time you've got the dormer, you know, shed dormer roof, windows and all, there was not a lot of roof to work with, which is why I sort of have sometimes can have a bias, like my bias is like flat, because I can put more stuff up there, and I can put the equipment up there, and I can put solar up there and kind of get it looking a little bit neater. But we definitely do solar. So
does that 400,000 per unit include the solar? It seemed like in Hanover, that solar was an add-on that I think
So-
town meeting.
yeah, solar was
in
an add-on, and
Hanover.
yeah, it was an add-on, and in the town's money, as you may recall, at the
Yes.
end was the
Right, it paid for it.
what
yeah.
paid for it,
Yeah.
but that even though that project was built closer to 250 a unit,
Mhm.
which is indicative. So that project, Summer Park, senior units, completed in 2020.
3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2020, yeah, so it was March,
2020.
it was, the first project was October of 2022,
Right.
2020,
Right.
because it was during COVID, and we had to move everybody in,
Yeah,
and we had to, you know, wear masks.
Yeah.
Deal with all that. Let's not go back there again. And, that was more like 250, and then maybe the
Mhm.
next one was a little bit closer to 285,
Mhm.
but we were
Yeah.
able to use the town's money. But it kind of gives you a sense of, like, if that's where the price was, we really did see a very
Huge swing.
significant
Yeah.
increase in construction costs since COVID.
Right, well, you guys were having a hard time sourcing too, and.
Sourcing's
and
been
then
a problem,
yeah, and then-
labor is a huge problem,
Yeah,
continues
yeah.
to be a huge problem.
Yeah. But even on that project, the sourcing was bad, and then prices went up like crazy.
So stupid question, when you say like $400 a square foot, is that like the footprint, or if it's like a 2-story building, it's like 400 for here
Yeah.
and 400
It's
for.
a living space, I think, right?
And so the $400 per
floor.
square foot was actually, if you wanted to go and, you know, redo, you know, add an addition to your house. Don't be surprised if somebody quotes you for, you know, and you say, I want to add, you know, 500 square feet, you may, you know, to your living space, they'll say, okay, that'll be $200,000.
Right.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so if it's a 10 by 10 and then a 10 by 10 on top of it, it's,
It is more efficient. It is absolutely more efficient.
Okay.
But we're still probably in the in our space, we're probably paying closer to 250 a square foot. You know, maybe 275. So we're still getting a better price per square foot.
Mhm.
It's just everything is so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And energy codes have improved, building codes, you know, are more rigid. And so, we have all kinds of bells and whistles on these buildings, if they've got elevators.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and one of the things we really wanted with Summer Park, and what we're excited about with Walsh Wood, none of those buildings existing, they're all senior housing, and none of them had, the prior versions had elevators. And people are living longer, and they're often more sickly and more frail and when as they age. And so, you know, if you've got people who are 90 years old living in your affordable housing and you don't have an elevator, they are shut. They are not going out and getting out on a regular basis, and that's a problem.
So when you say 250 to 275 a square foot, that's your actual construction
Construction.
cost.
Yeah,
With no, that doesn't include subsidies, or that's, or taxpayer money, that's just.
no, that's what we're paying, and I'll,
But it costs more than that to actually
yeah.
do it, because I was gonna say, how can you do it for 200, you can't.
No, and you got
Actually-
architects and engineers and you've got land acquisition costs and you've got a whole bunch of other costs that are gonna raise it, you know, raise it up,
Yeah,
so.
it's a huge, yeah.
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 This is one, you may have read in the paper as well. We are waiting approval on municipal water down at the bottom. 60 units, workforce housing. This is, I like to say a poster child for everything that can go wrong around water in trying to develop housing. We started this project at a time when the town had, they have a water precinct that serves a very small portion of Springfield and all of New London. And at the time, the precinct had sufficient water. And there was another project that actually had started ahead of us, an assisted living project on the grounds of the New London Hospital. And they had multiple conversations with the water precinct about water. And then the precinct, you know, very, very late in the process, I think it was the week or two before we were set to get our final site plan approval, they said, we got a problem. We're not gonna be able to give you water, we can only give you water for sprinkler fire protection. And so, in our case, our project and the project across the street, we all went ahead and ended up putting wells in. And then we found there was on the London Hospital site that the groundwater across the street, not ours, had been contaminated by PCE, which is a dry cleaning solid. And so New Hampshire law, not gonna be able to use that water ever. They're never gonna license those wells. And so we across the street don't want to take that liability on of spreading the contamination. So we went back to the precinct. Precinct said, nope, still think we've got a problem. Same meeting, they approved another application for a smaller multifamily building. And so we are appealing that right now. We'll have a hearing 2 weeks from today. So.
And is it a distribution, you know, is there a problem that the distribution system doesn't work, or they actually can't?
Their
treat the
concern,
water,
their
what?
concern is around, as I understand it, is around the overall capacity of the system. That they feel like they're licensed for 960,000 gallons per day by the state of New Hampshire. And they are concerned that that over time, the amount of water that they can pull from the wells has decreased. We've heard conflicting testimony, whether they're 750,000 gallons a day, 550,000 gallons a day, 500,000.
So it's a yield issue, not a treatment issue.
It's a
distribution.
yield issue and, you know, so. It's a complicated and it's the source of some litigation, so I really can't go much
Yeah,
more
yeah.
into it than to say, you know, we were stunned by you know, the response from the water precinct. And we have not put in nearly the money that that assisted living project, which was, they were looking at 200 units of assisted living.
Mhm.
And, you know, has expended millions of dollars and they're out of luck as well. So here's an example, actually, this is a good one of solar. You'll see solar panels up on the roof. Not gonna get a lot of solar up there, with this kind of a roof line. But we were, this is, I showed you the picture in Woodstock, so now we're adding some buildings there for some home ownership. These are duplexes, so, you know, two bedrooms in a single building. And those will be breaking ground this spring. So, because we do homeownership. In addition to that.
Does that mean then there's restrictions on purchase that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
who purchases it, how they use it, no Airbnb.
but then when they sell, if they wanted to sell, they
And
buy
then-
it back?
Right, so when they sell, what we do is we call it a shared equity arrangement, so, we have this at Guile Hill, we have 120 units at Guile Hill. And, we've got, 44, ownership units up there, 7 of which have these restrictions. So basically 75% of the appreciation stays with the home.
Yeah.
The person selling the home gets to take 25%, plus if they've made improvements to it that we've approved, they get to take that as well. So, it keeps it affordable.
So kind of like Habitat for Humanity in a way.
You know, interestingly enough, they don't use this model except one project where, actually a couple projects where we've collaborated with Habitat. And we have our financing from the state of Vermont in the projects. And so we keep it, because normally Habitat just allows people to sell the home. You know, there may be some restriction in terms of like what they do if it's like in the first 5 years, but ultimately they don't have a long-term restriction, whereas the stuff that we're doing is permanently affordable.
Yeah, because we did Habitat here in Lyme,
Yeah,
and I thought there was some, I can't remember what it was. but-
yeah, and again, I think there are some shorter restrictions, but the longer term restriction.
So could you, repeat that again? So what is the period of time that, that there are restrictions and what is the restriction that keeps it affordable, 50 years from now?
Yeah, so imagine you bought a house for $200,000. And now you're going to sell it for $300,000.
Mhm.
So you have $100,000 of appreciation. You're gonna, if you're the seller, you get $25,000 of that appreciation.
Mhm.
But when Pines is gonna get $75,000 of appreciation, we're not gonna ask for that money. We're not using that money to pay my salary or anybody else. It's actually staying in the property as a soft second. So somebody coming in to buy that new unit, they're not gonna pay 300,000. They're gonna pay 225.
Mhm.
So price has gone up from 200 to 225. The next buyer is going to buy essentially a home at, a significant discount from
Right.
market rate.
Right.
And do you have experience with, is the 25%? Has that proven to be?
A model that works.
A model that works, yeah, or is
Yeah.
it like, well, it's still too much? I mean,
Yeah, no, it works well for us. I will say, as a general matter, it works well for us as the party trying to keep it affordable. If this were a market where people were, I think the challenge right now is finding properties that people can bring into this program, because this is often, we develop some new units, but we often will bring existing homes into the program where the buyers go out. We give them essentially a grant money to, $80,000 worth of grant money to buy down the cost of it, so that, if it's a $300,000 home, they're paying $220,000. And there aren't a lot of homes like that. Like, we're really
Right.
struggling in this market to find those homes.
and then what assures? What assurance is there that you're gonna continue to purchase the home
Yeah, so.
or provide the 75%?
So what we do is, I mentioned, I use the term soft second. So, Mascoma Bank, Ledger Bank, whoever has the primary mortgage on it, we record a second mortgage. And so we have essentially a restrictive covenant that goes with the home, so that the home can't be sold without coming back to us and saying, Twin Pines, what do you want to do about this? But the homeowners generally are hearing from us quite a bit. We work to provide them with assistance and during the course of their ownership. And so they come to us when they say, I'm ready to sell, help me sell this. So that's how we've got a legal mechanism, and that's the other way. Oh, so I'm gonna just say, and I've got 4 more slides. We're going kind of, I'm conscious of the time here. I think I've got 10 minutes. I'll keep talking fast. So Grafton and Windsor County, we took Merrimack County off, but it kind of gives you a sense of the income tiers. So most of the programs are geared towards households at or below 60%. This is for a family of 4. An individual might be, is going to be, a fair number less, but it gives you kind of a sense of what we're talking about and who we're trying to serve. Some of the projects that we showed you, that new turnkey development in White River, we got some extra money from, courtesy of Dartmouth Health, Dartmouth College, Mascoma Bank, and others, King Arthur among them, that allowed us to basically have some units that serve folks at 80 to 100% of AMI based on family size. And so those are people, who be maybe making, 60, 70, 80,000, but when the cost of housing is $2,500 a month, that's not something that everybody can afford. So there's a need at that price point as well. So a couple of slides here just on how the financing that we use. So primary program I mentioned is the low-income housing tax credit program. Federal government allocates tax credits to the states. States allocate it to eligible projects. They're sold to investors, and the proceeds are then used to develop the housing. So, so this is the primary mechanism that we're using to finance the construction of this kind of housing. And investors get the tax credits, they reduce their tax liability dollar for dollar over 10 years. And we take the dollars that they pay for those tax credits, and now we've got cash equity that we put into the housing. And in exchange, we agree to rent the units to households with incomes less than 60%.
So who buys the
Credits?
tax? I mean, that would be like, not average people. These are,
No, so typically these are very sophisticated buyers. So in northern New England, the primary buyers is a group called Evernorth. I serve on the board of it, so full disclosure. But Mascoma Bank is an equity investor. Ledyard Bank, Bar Harbor Bank, many of the smaller banks that there's a lot of small banks in northern New England. But M&T is an investor, and
so they get tax credit.
so they're getting the tax benefits, and they're typically paying, if a dollar of credit at this point is probably selling for about 83, 84 cents on the dollar. So if you're selling $1 million of tax benefits, it flows over 10 years. So that's $10 million worth of tax benefits, $1 million per year over 10. And you're paying 83 cents, you're going to generate $8.3 million worth of equity. That equity allows us to put it into the project and reduce what we have to borrow, what we have to fundraise for. The balance is often, funded by other sources of debt, or could include some debt, but it also includes other grant funds that we may get from the state and federal governments.
Okay, but yeah, because I just asked a stupid question. So so if the bank buys this, they're taking the taxes that they would pay on what?
On their income, on their earned income.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're able to use it to offset their tax obligations on a dollar for dollar basis.
Okay.
So the banks like it. They are typically looking at about in this market right now, about a 7.5. Well, it's a little bit tighter now, anywhere from 5.5 to 7.5 internal rate of return.
Yeah.
Plus, the banks like it because they also get Community Reinvestment Act credit. So the federal government, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which regulates banks, looks at their Community Reinvestment Act activity. And so this is a plus. They're investing in affordable housing.
Yeah.
So it's a very stable investment. The historic loss rates for these kinds of projects is less than 0.5% ever. Ever in the nearly 40 years of the program. So. What do we need? What do we need to create housing? Okay, here we go. So, you know, we've looked at a bunch of projects. Land is often a big thing. Sometimes we have municipalities look at what they're looking for, what they're in terms of their the land that they have access to. Sometimes they then turn around and make it available to us. Hanover, perfect example, they had existing senior housing. They made that available to redevelop and add more housing. They also had the land up at Guile Hill, which the town made available.
100% of the projects in Hanover have been,
Yes.
town provided the land.
Yeah, and so, Lebanon, is making other lands available right now for housing
Yep.
and, so that is not, uncommon. Zoning, one of the big issues we look at is, does the zoning permit density to make it pencil out? And that is, size of projects. There's some big projects in there for our region. Not every project is going to be that size. Sometimes the projects that we're doing might be 21 units. They might, but we've also, in response to trying to do better in terms of meeting the demand for housing, we've done bigger projects, but we've also been able to do bigger projects over the last few years because of federal stimulus money. And that money has now been expended, that COVID relief money. And so, I suspect that over time, the projects are actually gonna, and particularly in our region, northern New England, we're gonna see projects getting smaller rather than bigger. And they're more expensive, which means that the resources that are available have to, available are gonna be funding. As construction costs go up, they're gonna be funding fewer projects and smaller projects.
But yeah, because it sounds like now you need 15 to 20 units now to make it really feasible.
Yeah, I mean, so the smallest project we have up there is 18. And,
Small.
and that's the smallest that we're kind of doing at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
just,
hard because, if you've only got $1,000 a month rent, we have certain expenses like an audit. We pay an audit fee every year, $8,500, because we've got all these tax benefits. The investors want to know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and that they're getting the tax benefits they bargained for. And so, if you better to have $8,500 in audit fees spread across more units.
Right.
So that's something.
right, and I think you just said, the reason for density, the reason for more units is you've got all these fixed costs up front.
Yeah, yeah.
And just, if you can defray them across more units.
It works better. And the other thing that I want to touch on, that can sometimes have a real cost implication is water and sewer. So water and sewer is one of the biggest challenges we talked about in London. Woodstock, I'm mindful of the fact, come up on 8 o'clock, and it's warm in this room. Woodstock, the aqueduct company, private company, is now being municipalized, which is good.
Yeah.
It is a good thing. The cost of capital available to upgrade and repair that system, maintain it, is much lower if it's municipal than if it is.
Same Hanover found the same thing.
And Hanover found the same thing, and, I connected Julia with Charlie Kimball in Woodstock and Eric Duffy, the town manager, because of that experience. And I think it was helpful. But water, as a developer, one of the challenges that we have is doing projects. I will say it, it's very, very challenging to ask somebody to do a water system for a larger project, because if you do it over a certain size, you trip into, being regulated as a water system.
Right.
And as a public water system, you have higher standards. It's people's health. I'm not arguing that this is a bad thing. I'm simply saying it's often expensive. And it can be, there's one of my peer organizations has a project down in the south central part of Vermont. They're spending $138 per unit per month for water. If you're charging $850, $900 a month for rent, that's where your money is going. Like it hemorrhages, that project hemorrhages money because they're spending so much on water. That number's crazy. And, you know, you can get into a project and find out, oh boy, and I'm trying to remember what mineral element is causing that problem. But they have to treat the water, and it's expensive. And so that's a challenge. And lastly, you know, I'll just say, you know, the financing, we talked about the tax credits. It's surprisingly competitive. There are not enough credits to do a lot of projects. So New Hampshire, Vermont, both get the same amount of credits, even though the population's twice in New Hampshire what it is in Vermont. They both get small state minimums. And it's very, very competitive to get that financing. They look at, you know, is it walkable? Are there services nearby? Is it on, you know, obviously water and sewer can be issues as well in financing some of these deals. So with that, it's 8 o'clock.
No
I
deadlines.
I think we're
Happy to
happy
take
to.
happy to
ask
take
some
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, this was a little bit, there's a lot of material here. I recognize it and, you know,
This is great.
happy to have you share that with members here
Great.
later on, because if you've got questions, but feel free to shoot away.
I got one.
Sure.
Have you done any projects where the development's not on water and sewer and had to do community septic or develop a well?
Short answer is not in a long time.
Mhm.
So we have 2 properties, one in Lebanon and one in Queechee that are on septic.
Shared septic system?
9 unit septic system.
Yeah.
So I'm less worried about the septic because, you know, assuming that you can get soils and get it to perk and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not an engineer and I don't claim to be one. But that always feels a lot more manageable, whereas, you know, if you get an option on a property and you go in and you decide, okay, I'm gonna drill a well here.
Mhm.
I'm only going, you know, keep going in New London with all of this well drilling. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineers and drilling wells and all this kind of stuff, and we're not gonna be able to use it.
Mhm.
But we had a foundation that was willing and able to support that work. And that made a big difference, but without that, it's incredibly risky to deal with some of the challenges around water.
Well, I mean, we used to have a little municipal system here, and it wasn't run by the town, it was a private water system.
Yeah.
And when the rules changed in New Hampshire, they disbanded.
Yeah.
So now we've got a couple of households on each well.
Yeah.
So they just, you know, dissociated.
Yeah.
And because of the testing requirements and stuff that.
It's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge across the Upper Valley. Thetford's been looking at their water systems and they've got not 1, not 2, but not 3, so 4.
Yeah,
Water
yeah,
companies.
yeah.
With anywhere from, you know, I think the smallest might have 20 users at this point. Maybe there's one that's 90, maybe it's 70. It's, you know, those are kind of challenging.
Yeah, so would you partner with a municipality that set up a water system for you if it, you know, were like, I mean, set up a, you know, well-based water system?
It's worth a conversation.
Is it? Yeah, okay.
It's worth a conversation to kind of
Well,
dig
just, you
into it.
know, because Lyme doesn't have much to offer that way. We don't have services.
Yeah.
Like, you know, right across from the high school and walking distance to CVS and the co-op and advanced transit. So, you know. And does community commitment
Makes a
factor
difference.
into the?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Getting the
you
credits?
have a robust community nursing program here. Those things make a difference.
Mhm.
are there other organizations willing, in the region to provide services here
Mhm.
to the extent those
Well, we
are.
have CCL, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, and the parish nurses, so
Yep.
it's both really good. I mean, they're different kinds of services than.
But those make
Yeah,
a
yeah.
difference.
How do you decide where to?
And I don't wanna,
Oh, just.
I see a hand up there as well.
Lenore,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Andrew, thank you so much. You've done so much, you've helped so many people in the Upper Valley and wider community. The question I have is, I'm one of the people who is spending much more than 30% of their income on the rental apartment and utilities. It doesn't feel good.
Wow.
The question I have is, what is the time frame from concept to I know it's kind of a nebulous question or something hard to pinpoint, but roughly what from concept to finish a project?
Yeah, so, no, that's a great question. Hanover, I want to say it took us 5 years of kind of really digging into it to get there. Knowing that, in part, in that particular instance, there was alternative uses that, a portion of the site was being considered for, and that kind of slowed things down a little bit. And that can happen. I thought the Fairfield Inn was going to be a relatively quick process. The town of Hartford changed their zoning to allow that conversion. They had extended use hotels as an allowed use in that area. That doesn't work for the tax credit program. We needed it to say multifamily is allowed. And so they amended their zoning code to allow multifamily housing as a conditional use in that zone.
Yeah.
But that process, which was anticipated to be 3 to 6 months, took 14 months. And so, and meanwhile, my hotel owner is like, I just want to sell.
Right, right. Yeah,
And so, that one was relatively quick, in the sense that, it took about 3 years, including the 14 months that we spent on the zoning change. So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
So how do you select projects? I mean,
No.
do people come to you? Do communities come to you? Do private individuals come to you?
Yeah,
Or do you
yeah. So,
scope things out yourselves? I mean,
I will always tell my compatriots from other parts of the country, I feel really blessed to work in the Upper Valley because people bring me projects. People, towns bring me projects, civic organizations bring me projects and say, this is what we want you to do, and this is what we are seeing for a need. This is an opportunity that we have. And I'm not sure that's always the case in other parts of the country. And frankly, the generosity of communities is often, pretty astounding in terms of the dollars that we're able to raise to help support the work that we do. So I feel lucky, but yeah, I might very well have a municipality like Hanover will come to us. Lebanon can come to us with a particular project. Sometimes it's another developer. DEW brought us the concept of doing the turnkey. They brought that to our attention. Sometimes I scope it out. Sometimes I look at the zoning map in a community and I say, okay, well, this is a great opportunity. So the Tracy Street project, Tracy Street's right behind Mascoma Bank there on Main Street there, West Lab. And I went to the bank and said, hey, here's a great opportunity to do something with this large parking lot that you have. And we can take care of some sort of rundown old properties on Tracy Street. And you get to help buy the credits, be the construction lender, be the perm lender on this. It's gonna be great. And they worked through the process with us. We have all these kinds of different cross easements to access the project through the parking lot of Mascoma Bank, and they're an incredible partner. So sometimes it's finding a good partner. to do things. St. Paul's Church, where we did 747, they brought that to us and they said, we would like to do something to support the Haven. We helped found the Haven. We want to do something on our campus, help us do that. And so that was the church driving that process. So lots of different ways. There is no one way.
Yep.
For sure.
Do you guys ever buy like mobile home parks?
Yeah, so great question. And we have in our portfolio, I think you saw at the beginning, one mobile home park, 9 units. We have looked at we've really kicked the tire on 2 other projects, like spent a bunch of time. And ultimately chose not to move forward. Vermont has a statute that encourages, that basically requires that residents be given the opportunity to purchase the parks when they go on for sale, or that it be offered to a nonprofit. And you know, there's sometimes the capital needs are significant, so significant that, you know, we might very well choose not to proceed with it. In New Hampshire, we're really lucky because this is the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund started something called Rock USA, resident owned and controlled mobile home parks program, and that Rock USA really is in the space to encourage owners, residents to become owners of the parks in which they live, and provides technical assistance and financial assistance to help make that happen. And that's a huge benefit. So there's a good way to make parks affordable. I will simply say this. I think that there's an opportunity to, think about mobile home parks, particularly as construction costs rise. And because, it is a less expensive way to get people into housing. It is not, particularly if you're getting into a newly built manufactured home, not something that was pre-78, not something that's energy inefficient. You really gotta have something,
Right.
but it's something that we are looking at periodically.
Some of them, not bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of the more modern energy efficient homes, you can get a passive home that is, you can get a net zero home with solar panels on it and pay $15 a month for your electric hookup, and that's it, which is very, very good. So,
This is great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Andrew.
well, hopefully giving you something to think about.
Yeah, I guess just one other question is, as you're looking from the outside in, are there other means or of a community getting more housing or affordable housing that wouldn't necessarily involve you, but you've seen to be successful in other communities,
Yeah.
especially communities without water and sewer?
I know everybody has talked about ADUs as a tool to increasing it, and to the extent that folks are willing to add a unit and make that unit available to somebody in the community or a family member who needs that housing, that is a plus. And I really encourage communities to think broadly about housing. It doesn't all need to look like a 40-unit building in White River. It comes in many forms and flavors, and I think ADUs are and I think there is a role for mobile home parks as well, in kind of meeting the larger regional need for housing.
Yeah, because it's interesting. People have had the ability to build ADUs in Lyme for 35 years, and there's been hardly any built.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It's expensive. I mean, it is expensive, and sometimes, figuring out, I kicked that can for like a day, thinking that I was going to get my father-in-law to come here from Ohio, and we'll build a little ADU out on the back of the lot, and you get involved, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do for upgrading the septic? what am I doing in terms of getting the well over, water over there? And it's
A lot of money, yeah.
it's a lot of money and it's not always a simple project. So,
In fact, I went to some conference over at Hartford High in the
Yeah.
spring
yeah,
and the zoning people were really proud of themselves. They said, it is a piece of cake. All you gotta do is this and this and
Yeah.
this, and then you gotta start with the fire marshal, and then you gotta do this and this and this, and this was the simplified procedure. And in fact, I believe them. I'm sure it was much better than it used to be,
yeah, it's all relative.
but it still was still a lot of work. over
It's
there.
it's a lot of work and, if you're, already working full-time or, got kids or
Mhm.
doing both. Having the bandwidth to kind
Yeah.
of take on a major construction project, can sometimes be.
Keane's having a design competition.
Yeah.
For ADUs.
There are communities that are really being very creative
Very
and trying to,
proactive, yeah.
yeah, to do that. Employer assisted housing is another area,
Mhm.
that we, definitely had conversations. You don't have a lot of, employers that may be looking to get into the housing space. But over the years, I've certainly had, major resorts in our region. I've had, civic, museums and, environmental organizations come to me and say, hey, can you do something for us? It's not really, in Twin Pines case, not really what we do. But it speaks to, the seriousness with which a lot of employers are facing this because they can't get and retain employees. In the case of the Woodstock Inn, they went ahead and bought a motel. And
And they already owned a lot of
Yeah,
houses. all
they already
over
owned a
Woodstock.
bunch of houses all over Woodstock, so, yeah.
Didn't
so-
the theater company in White River Junction
Yes.
do
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, so, and we had, conversations with them. And when, at one point, they were thinking, well, let's try to do something bigger, they ultimately kind of scaled down to what is being built now. But they built housing because they're required by their union contracts, because these are artists who are in a union, and as part of that, they are required to provide housing. So, and they need short-term housing, where, we're really looking for 12-month lease at a minimum.
Right.
So,
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions or?
Okay.
well, thank you so much for the
Well,
opportunity.
it's a pleasure
I
to have
always-
you
I
here.
always love to do the dog and pony show and kind of talk about what we do and it's great to hear the conversation that you're having. And,
Well, it's good to learn about
yeah.
you guys, because I mean, we hear about you for years. And we really don't know exactly how it works.
Yeah, it's the tax credit piece, I said to my CFO when we hired her back in 2015, I said, you'll never be bored. And, because this is the structure that we use for all of these developments. And so, today we have 22 tax credit partnerships with limited partners that we need to get K1s to, and general partners that we have to manage and make sure that their returns are filed. It is like a lot of paperwork, and we could argue whether it's the most efficient program to build affordable housing. It works and it enjoys bipartisan support, and in this world, that may be the best we can do is a bipartisan program like
Yeah.
that. So
Great.
great.
Well,
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank
happy to-
you.
happy to be-
And we don't have any other questions from the audience, do we?
I don't know, Lenore or Maureen, do you have any questions?
No,
Maureen?
I can't get this. I'm all set, I think, for now, but thank you very much. You've given us a little hope. And when you mentioned about the washer dryer, lugging it down to Lebanon is getting a little much. So I
Yeah.
hope we can work with the planning board up here. It's like, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Maureen, you're still muted, so we can't hear you if you were saying something.
I don't have a question. Thank you for the
Okay,
opportunity.
Okay,
Good.
Thank
I
you,
will
Mike.
see you all. Thank you.
okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
Great to
welcome.
see you.
Bye.
Good to See you all.
Okay.
Okay, if we can move on to other items here. Lenore is on the line, I believe, and I'd like to, if people will indulge us, maybe switch the order of the, agenda to, address the appointment of Lynn Parshall
Okay,
as an alternate member of the zoning board.
so right now we have 3 members of the zoning board out of 5, and I've been trying to get more, have not had much luck, but. Lynn Parshall, was a member for about 3 years and then got very busy and had to get off. And actually, I talked to her at the last forum. And she agreed that she would, come back as an alternate.
Huh.
And so, I would like to ask the board to appoint, Lynn Parshall as an alternate.
David, are there other alternates or is she the only?
She is the only one.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to.
So wait a
appoint-
second. So I volunteered to do this.
Yeah, you volunteered to,
What happened to you?
Hold it.
well.
Well, it went, I think David took it to the select board.
Let me back up and say, 3 members are, of the zoning board are appointed by the planning board and 2 members are appointed by the select board. Right now, the only open position, there, we have 1 member who is kind of out on maternity leave, probably going to come back. But she's still,
That's Helena.
yeah, that's Helena. And so we have 1 position open that is a select board appointed. I gave your name, they chose not to appoint you.
And never got back to me,
Yeah,
Never heard
I
one
apologize
word.
for that, but I,
anything ever.
That's not.
And they took all of the other appointments in public session and went into private session to discuss me, so
yeah,
I'm like,
that's.
this is, you know,
The select board, it took me a long time to get information back also.
so.
I'll make a motion because, actually, this is an appointment that we can make and the permanent member isn't, so.
Right, all the alternates
Yeah,
are
so-
appointed by the planning board.
So for Lynn, and I'll just put that out there, and if somebody wants to second it, then we can have
I'll
conversations.
second it. But no, I just have another question. If at some point it'll come up that the planning board can appoint somebody, right?
Correct.
I mean, at some point, and we can appoint.
Yes,
Evie at
but
that point.
once, when a member goes off. Well, the member, if they'd like to be.
Planning board appointed member.
Yeah, one of the planning board, one of the 3 that are appointed by the planning board, decide that they don't want to be a board member anymore.
Right.
Now. When their term is up, I'll come back to the board and ask them to if they want to continue.
And if they don't, then we get to appoint somebody.
Yeah, well, you would still have to appoint them, but I think if you have an active member, who wants to continue to be an active member, I just think it's a poor decision to not appoint them.
Right, I mean, if they don't want
If
to,
they don't do, then.
yeah,
We will.
then we get to appoint somebody.
Yes,
Yeah.
So, Lynn has been on the board previously.
she was on the board for about 3 years.
Mhm.
She is an attorney, so she is,
She's come to our meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
she's a very, very smart lady and a very good, thoughtful member of the board. And I wish she had never gone off, but.
okay. Well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, to appoint, Lynn Parshall as an alternate to the zoning board? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Lynn, if you're still there.
I don't think anyone, there's
She-
no
I don't
one there.
think she's not. been
She
on.
wasn't there.
Okay,
It wasn't, it's just Lenora.
all right, well, thank you for the information.
Thank you. It's very much appreciated getting somebody still on.
So we also have the minutes of October 24th, which I thanked him for
David wasn't present at that
taking
meeting.
taking those. So are these, is this your type version or did,
This is my version.
David.
I mean,
This is as Kim,
I'm not the greatest. Yeah, so what I did was I just tried to take some of the high points of what,
That's fine,
and if
but
other people might.
David wasn't there.
yes, I have my name already
I
crossed
was,
out.
I
on it,
was
so-
working the computer, remember?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, well, that should go down in history.
that's.
Well, it does say board member,
It says he's absent.
it says.
Okay.
Oh,
Does it also indicate he was present?
Yeah, I thought I had that right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no, he was absent,
Right,
yeah,
under,
okay, I'm
under
sorry,
absent.
yeah, okay,
The
oh, yeah, okay,
Still at the hospital during the entire meeting.
yes.
So I had a few edits if anybody.
Yeah,
Will
good.
indulge me here, so under item 2. Wrote Sandwich applied for and received. A HOP, I think we should maybe indicate what that is, a housing opportunity planning parentheses HOP
Yes.
grant.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then this was used to hire Barrett Consulting Group to help with a town, and then I would add housing audit.
I'm gonna ask for your notes just.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll give you those, and identify barriers to development and zoning. And then the next sentence starts, I would add Sandwich planning boards. And then I would say proposed zoning amendments for March 2024 town meeting. Enabled. And then go into the 2-family or duplex units
Yeah.
to be completed in the large existing buildings in town. And then the next 2 sentences later, where you say the next focus, I would just change that to Sandwiches. Next focus will be on encouraging.
Yeah.
So that was what I had. Rich Brown, do you have any?
I think Susan McLeod's name is MAC, uppercase LEOD.
Yeah, I think so too. I never, I guess. I
Right,
wasn't
right.
sure.
I Googled it, so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's all I saw.
The only I wanted to ask about, since I wasn't there, the sentence in minutes, there's that now the move to approve the minutes as submitted with changes from Rich Brown. You wanna just say,
Amended with changes,
you know, approve the minutes as amended?
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
I actually found the warrant article from Sandwich, if anybody wants to know the 10 things that they put.
I would be very interested in
Okay.
that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
Dave.
they were listed on the slides. I think.
Yes,
But
Yeah.
they were tiny.
they were tiny.
Yeah,
I found the
hard to
actual
read.
warrant article off
Yeah.
the town website.
So it took them 10 articles
Oh, it
to
was
do
things like-
ADUs?
Not
No,
ADUs,
they
but it
have
was like,
definitions.
they had other things like, you could build in a steep slope. A certain percentage. So, it was
It
quite
was,
granular about what they were doing.
And then there was some stuff
Yeah.
about the duplex.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
okay,
there were 3 different sets of them. You know, I sent all the slides, I don't know whether, I think they're in there. Not the slides that Susan did, but there were a bunch of
Oh,
slides that
Were on the town's
were
website.
available on the town's website, which I
Yeah.
think I sent to you.
Yeah, I do
And I
have.
thought everybody that
I
got,
thought I,
we got those,
Yes,
Yes, we
yeah,
got
yeah,
those.
so if you look in those, you probably all can find a lot.
yeah, okay. Anybody have any other changes? If not, I'd accept a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all those in favors, say aye, aye.
Aye. Thanks, Tim. for
Opposed?
doing
did you
that.
move for,
Yeah,
I didn't
thank
catch you.
Yeah.
Nat moved.
Nat moved.
I seconded.
And here are my changes.
Thank you.
So we have another meeting next week
All right.
Yeah.
and, sorry, I feel better.
There, I can see you, yes.
Yeah, talking sideways here.
talking to your ear.
Yeah. So, we have Jonah Richard and Jamie Rogers. And have they both confirmed that they're coming
Yeah, they
here?
confirmed, but I will email Jonah again and even maybe try to call him again. On his cell phone, just to make sure, remind him, because he's a little scattered.
Busy.
But he confirmed, I gave him the date,
Yep.
I gave him the time, and he said he could look up where the town offices are on GPS.
Okay,
But I'll try to, remind him again,
okay,
or I will remind him again.
And I'll do the same for Jamie.
terrific. And
What is
so,
Jamie's, I can't remember what Jamie.
She's at, Margaret Bragg,
Oh, okay.
Margaret Pratt. Yeah.
Way up on the hill,
Right.
Yeah.
So senior housing and what does it look like?
Okay, great.
so, I also apologize that I asked David to put this on the website, and I don't know if I asked him to put it on the
No, and I-
listserv,
It
but
just slipped my mind, I
it
apologize.
didn't get on there. And
No,
I'm
it
really
just-
kind of bummed out that
Yeah.
that didn't happen
Yeah.
because we've had,
I just seemed like a missed opportunity.
yeah,
I actually have it noted on my sheet here for,
Once Rich gets it posted, then we can send out a notice to say if you happen to miss this one, well, like with the one for next week, if you happen to miss this one, here's the link so they could watch it.
yeah.
I mean, why not? And
Do-
actually, she did
is
the
this-
first one too.
Was
Yes.
this also on Zoom? I mean,
yes, it's recording, we're still being recorded.
so when you say, so are we gonna reference what Rich has recorded here, or are we gonna reference what, the Zoom?
Do you keep it?
I do keep it for a while, but it's, I don't, our website does not support video,
So that's
so I
why
can't, yeah, which is really a
do
bummer
it,
Uh-huh.
Rich.
that,
Okay,
YouTube,
yeah, so.
which is.
I can,
YouTube.
Could I,
okay,
Send me the,
okay,
The
I'll send
message again.
you the link, yes,
yeah,
okay.
and I'll just upload it to your, and you can put it up on YouTube, and then if
Right.
you send me a link back.
That's great, yes.
I can-
David
Be
and
good
I,
in our any communications about this to put the links to the meetings that we have had, so if people
Yes.
wanna watch those, that
Yes.
they can. So they don't feel like. they
so,
missed
so
out.
I was scattered here, so how are we gonna get this out to the public?
I'm going to send the Zoom video, which will include all this that we're talking about now, to Rich. Rich will post it to his account on YouTube, send me the link to the YouTube
Yep,
version, and we can post that to, say, if you wanna watch. Here's the,
so we're gonna put that both on our website.
Yep.
But then we're also going to put that on the Lime listserv as well.
yeah.
When advertising the,
When we
The
have
next,
it,
yeah, I have it, like I said, I already have it noted to
yeah,
remind me to put it out.
and yeah, I mean, if we could get that out either tomorrow or
Yeah,
Monday. at the
Well, it'll be
latest.
Monday, so it'll have to be tomorrow.
Okay,
We're closed on Monday. It's a
Yeah,
holiday.
Monday's a holiday.
well, I don't know
Yeah.
why we wouldn't do it on Tuesday then. So tomorrow and another time next week, people don't.
I'll put
really-
it on twice,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, so you mark your calendar and not go out to the movies that night and instead come here.
And then you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
David, what would it take to have the capability of video or whatever on the website?
Oh, it'd be very easy. We'd have to completely change companies that host the
Okay.
website. Go through a complete and total revamp
Okay,
of the website.
And videos
Got
take
it.
up a lot of space.
yeah, so we're not gonna do it, yeah.
And then the nice thing, the one thing I can do is if I link a YouTube video, you can watch it from our website. It just, they won't, and the reason they won't host it is videos are huge.
Right.
The files are huge.
But if you look at it on YouTube, you can also watch it at 1.5 speed and it's perfectly sensible.
And you get all kinds of advertisements to watch too.
Well, they're always good. You never know.
I'm
what
gonna
you
have
got.
to ask you how to do 1.5 speed.
Oh,
Oh, it's easy.
down in the lower,
Oh, there's a
there's
little
a gear.
gear in the
Okay.
lower right. If you
Okay.
click on that, it pops up and you can go 1.5, 1.6.
Oh, really?
This is a
2.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Thing.
Let's speed it up.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
really good. for
So
your-
if you
for your workout
download
videos.
anything to YouTube, you can then play with it like that?
But you don't download it, you just have to watch it on YouTube.
just start it up and down at the lower right corner is that gear. And you can watch it at half
I was
speed.
just gonna find
If-
something appropriate.
But MOV files don't have that.
No, well, depends on the software that you're using to watch them. If the software that you have to watch them allows it, then
How about PowerPoint?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, keep volumes off.
So we've got this meeting next week and then we are off for Thanksgiving. I don't think anybody wants to meet, and then we'll be meeting again in December.
On the 12th, and I have, work for you.
Oh,
See
okay.
it?
Maybe you could tell us about that.
It is a little lot line adjustment. That involves, I think, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It involves, several hundred acres. And,
Oh, okay.
going from,
So where did you? find
to and
that?
from,
On the
Bear
phone.
Hill Conservancy
On the phone, it's hard
to
to.
Yeah,
the
on the
National
phone at
Park
the top,
Service.
right?
Oh, it's that little gear thing. Okay, I'll look for that.
It took me about an
Computer
hour of
slow.
looking through the files to figure out what was going on.
Thanks, Hebe.
So I would ask that you do spend some time looking at
Every
this.
once in a while I learn
because
something.
It
It's
is
helpful.
a little confusing at the onset. Their
To do user
description
services.
is, of the project is lacking.
Yeah, I think they. I shouldn't,
Well,
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the overall thing is, I think. The land is being. Transferred to the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
So there's being some land traded, so the Appalachian Trail Association will get this land. That will benefit them.
Well, it's, there's land transfers to and from.
Right.
There's a section of the Appalachian Trail that is not owned by the National Park Service. And so they're establishing corridor, through, it's down, basically between Goose Pond Road and the Dartmouth Skiway. That section of the trail that goes through there, there's a large section that is not owned by the National Park Service. If you know where, Mike, Woodard, yes, Woodard, out behind his property, to the east of his property. Out Bliss Lane and that backside.
Where we went.
And so they're trying to establish that, so they're gonna take a corridor of land that's owned by Bear Hill Conservancy. And attach it to a piece they have that's further north, and then there will be some swapping of land.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's a good deal for everybody, from what I understand, it's a good.
again, that's not my,
So
Who's the
is there,
signature? Whose signature is this?
you have,
I don't
Jack
recall.
something? Jed something?
Yeah, he's pretty.
well, you have,
Is that Jacob Tiro?
yeah, he's the applicant, he's the engineer, and then you have,
Oh, he's the engineer.
I
Okay.
believe Nicholas Craig is
You know, it's a
the,
good.
representative from,
is that Bear Hill?
no, from the National Park Service, and then Bear Hill Conservancy Trust is.
So is there a narrative that tells us what they're
There
trying to do
is a
somewhere?
narrative, unfortunately, if you look at it, it's on the second page at the very top. And it's a description of the project.
So David, where they say Bear Hill Trust, they mean the Bear Hill Conservancy Trust?
Yes,
Right.
Is that anywhere explained?
but yeah, I just got this 2 days ago, so I'm,
Where are you seeing it? It's called Bear, oh, Bear
Well,
Hill, on the map, it's Bear Hill Trust.
About everything is called Bear Hill Trust when it's the Bear Hill Conservancy
Okay.
Trust.
For years.
I know,
But on
I'm
the
looking
map.
at the map, every, there, and then they have this sort of thing, where the Bear Hill Conservancy Trust, so is that the same or not? I mean, it's,
I can tell you, looking at the properties, yes, it is the Bear Hill Conservancy Trust.
yeah, but
So
aren't they
it-
supposed to have the names? I
Yeah,
mean,
that would be something to
yeah,
have them.
so if, instead of Victoria Smith, they said Vicky Smith's land, I mean,
Oh, Victoria.
As I said, I just got
Just
this a couple
saying,
of days
you know,
ago.
it's same, you know, it's not common to put a nickname,
No, exactly.
as a property owner.
Oh, I see, look at that. Circles and arrows on the back.
I know.
I wish there was a paragraph.
So,
describing each one.
Are they planning on having somebody represent?
Yes, Jacob, Thurl will be here.
Okay. Have we worked with him before, or has he presented anything?
No, not since I've been here.
He gets so turned around.
It's,
All of a sudden, north is here, all right.
you know, that's one of the big things that threw me trying to look at this, comparing it to the actual tax map.
Yeah,
It's off by not quite 90 degrees, and so. Yes, Goose Pond Road is down
Right.
here,
Here's
Yeah.
the, yeah.
and so you need to almost rotate it 90 degrees. to
I'm
understand.
standing at the Dartmouth Skiway, I'm looking out.
So the other thing is, I mean, in some cases, Margaret Sheehan is the owner, and in other cases, Sheehan is the owner. And then Colbeck Trust, and then there's the Samuel Colbeck Revocable Trust. You know, that's sloppy. Those should be, if they're the same owner, should be called the same thing.
So that would be something to discuss with
Well,
Jacob when,
yeah. Yeah,
you know, I'm still going through and making sure they have all the butters and.
oh, yeah, there's a lot of butter.
Who is Bear Hill? Is that?
Bear Hill Conservancy Trust, that's the trust that David Roby established.
Yeah, I was just making sure it was Roby.
Yeah,
Right. Actually, David, I have a question here on, so it says tax lot, blah, 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 David Rosen.
I believe that is formally.
formally,
That makes good sense, okay. thank you.
that's where they're showing the chain of title there.
Yep, yep.
Like I say, I find these to be very busy maps, and so they're trying to understand what is.
Well, I think that's because they're also, this is the style that they use for doing the segment maps for the AT.
Yep.
So you probably have a set of the segment maps, and that they'll just change the legend when they get done, and then they'll put the segment numbers on here, so.
Well, they also have, you know, National Park Service tracks, which is what they, you know, refer to in the description of the project.
Yep,
And trying to wrap my head around which,
right,
what they are talking about,
right.
you know, which track
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that they gave it to us,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
yeah, the Ackerley LLC, no, they're, I'm sorry, and then here, well, Crookenden, is that Ann Crookenden, or is it some other Crookenden, you know, it's like, so,
And then, like I said, that's something to have them,
yes.
I think this continues.
Huh.
Now it's just,
Great. Excellent.
David, would it be appropriate for you to inquire about, based on an informal, 5-second look at this in advance, that, maybe you would want to ask, it's HEB that's gonna come to represent
it's Jacob, Thurl.
that maybe you could
Terrio,
ask,
Terry?
Jacob Terrio, that's how I would say it.
ask him about this, and
You know, British.
is it
No, I-
possible for him to provide a different copy? At the meeting, or do we have to render it incomplete and then, have him come back
Or
another time?
you can then just ask him on the final copy to correct those things. I think, you know, I haven't spent as much time as I would like going through these, and I would hate to send him just stuff piecemeal. To say, here, fix this, and then a week later, fix this. You know, I would rather at one meeting to go through and say, here are issues that the board has,
Okay,
and please correct all these things.
yeah.
Um,
Would it not be appropriate, though, to just clue him in on the fact that we're seeing different
I can,
landowners, which we think might
Yeah.
need to have some consistency, and that way he could present that to us at least one copy of it or something, if it's appropriate, or he could at least be able to address it rather than saying, well, I gotta go back and.
When he says Roby, does that only mean David M. Roby, or does that?
Well, there's
also-
Barbara Roby is referred to up here, so.
Right, so, yeah.
So which Roby, yeah.
Which Roby is it? Yep,
You know, I think Barbara owns some things.
yeah, and so does David
to
Junior,
herself.
so he's a Roby also.
these are the map lines for the sheets following. So,
Oh, I see.
Okay,
so,
these big
Big,
gray.
Gray
dash-
which again, it's not on the, that took
There's
me a
no-
minute because,
because it's not in the legend.
so this
Ah.
square right here is sheet
Sheet
V 102.
And, okay, so that's
And then sheet V 104. and one-
this.
Yep.
I get you.
So
I
the
better
top one
clear-
is an overview and then each sheet.
Gonna have to clear off the dining room table.
Or you can detach it and kind of mush them together yourself on the dining room table.
Right, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Yeah, if you really want to make it unwieldy.
Yeah. Go through
I
it.
think we should all go over to Vicky's house and do this then.
Let's have an unwarned meeting, that sounds like a good idea.
Or we can just stay late tonight and,
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
We can't look at this until we have the hearing.
Yeah.
So when will that be?
that will be the 12th.
No, because it's not.
Of December?
Of December?
Yes.
The public has to know.
And just to let folks know,
We can't-
we're closed on Monday and,
Is that Veterans Day or
that's,
something?
I believe it's Veterans Day. And then the following 2 weeks I am gone.
Oh.
So
So you're not gonna be here for the,
I'll be here Thursday.
okay,
Oh, okay.
And then
otherwise we're gonna have to get Vicky.
No, no,
I will be here.
I'm not gonna be here Thursday either.
I will be here Thursdays and then I'm going to take a half day on Friday because I'm flying out to DC on, at 5 o'clock on Friday or Sunday, excuse me, Saturday morning.
But then you'll be back for the meeting in December.
I will be back. I'm only gone for 10 days to DC and then I'll be back Thanksgiving week, but I'm taking that week off because I have at least 13 people coming to the house for Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, my.
I need to prepare.
So
Great.
so you're not missing any, plenty more meetings?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's why I did schedule this one for the 12th, because if we didn't do it, then, we'd be pushing them off into January.
Yeah.
Yep, and so trying to,
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Both is fine.
So
So
why
we
don't
to
Yeah.
adjourn?
We have,
discuss anything?
do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay,
So the public doesn't know when-
let's head out. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Can I ask you,
So we can look at
homeowners,
it,
a
think
question?
about it.
If you
We
want to
can't, as a group,
disconnect
we
a
can't.
gas range and install a new one, does it have to be the company that supplies the propane?
No,
so you can have a plumber.
Cause like, I'm having a terrible time getting Irving oil to
yeah,
pay
you
any
can have a plumber do it, or.
A gas
another
certified
gas-
plumber, I
yeah,
should
gas
say.
Yeah,
certified plumber.
yeah, or another company, are you
Oh.
changing companies?
No, it's
Mhm.
just, we had a catastrophic failure and,
Well, at least it wasn't an explosion.
oh no, it was it's a dual fuel.
Mhm,
So the electrical part failed.
uh-huh.
Propane's still working great, but the
Um,
only
Evie, don't get Gray's Electric.
Gray's electric, no.
Don't get them.